Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our NIV Daily Bible Study. So this is the NIV Daily Bible. It is the entire Bible split up into 365 daily readings. Every single day we have a portion from the Old Testament, we have a portion from the New Testament, and we have a portion from either Psalms or Proverbs. Every day we pick up where we left off the day before, so it's not bouncing around the Bible. It's just reading the Old Testament and the New Testament at the same time. Yesterday we left off in Job. Today we're going to pick up in Job 19. Yesterday we left off in Matthew. And I'm just waiting. When are we going to be done with Matthew? Yeah, we're still in Matthew. So it is literally taking us like all month to read the book of Matthew. So today we're picking back up in the book of Matthew. I wonder if we start... we're in Matthew tomorrow too. Anyway, goodness. Anyway, let's pick up in Job. So where we're at in Job, guys, it can be kind of confusing to follow Job because it's just a bunch of whining and moaning. But basically, Job's friends are saying, if you did nothing wrong, then you wouldn't be going through this. And Job's like, I'm innocent, I swear. But why are you guys harassing me? You guys were supposed to be my friends and you're supposed to come and comfort me. But you're over here like telling me to take my case to God. If I did nothing wrong, I wouldn't be punished, and only, the wrong gets punished. And so that's kind of what's happening here. But there is some truth to what his friends are saying, but it's not all truth, So Job is replying to one of his friend's long monologues. And then his friend Zophar will speak. So this part is going to be a little long. Grin and bear it. You guys can get through it, I promise. I'll try to go at a good pace. So, Job 19. Then Job replied, "How long will you torment me and crush me with words? 10 times now you have reproached me. Shamelessly you attack me. If it is true that I have gone astray, my error remains my concern alone. If indeed you would exalt yourself above me and use my humiliation against me, then know that God has wronged me and drawn his net around me. Though I cry, I've been wronged, I get no response. Though I call for help, there is no justice. He has blocked my way, so I cannot pass. He has shrouded my paths in darkness. He has stripped me of my honor and removed the crown from my head. He tears me down on every side till I am gone. He uproots my hope like a tree." He's talking about God. "His anger burns against me. God counts me among his enemies. His troops advance in force. They build a siege ramp against me and a camp around my tent. God has alienated my brothers from me. My acquaintances are completely estranged from me. My kinsmen have gone away. My friends have forgotten me. My guests and my maidservants count me a stranger. They look upon me as an alien." I have this part highlighted. So it's interesting because Job is right. God has allowed all of this to happen to him. And his friends are wrong because they're like, no, God, if God is doing this, it's to punish you because you did something wrong. But in reality, God has allowed this to happen because it's a test for Job. And I think that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, is that God will test you. God will discipline you. If you think that God only disciplines and punishes bad people, you are going to be very disappointed. And when hard things come your way, you're probably going to drown, because it's just not the truth. God tests and disciplines his children that he loves. And so Job is right. When he's saying God has done all of this to me, he's right. God allowed it all to happen, and his friends are just having a hard time with that. But we know that Job ends up with way more in the end. But a part of this testing process, which I highlighted here, is that Job is isolated and alone. And this just stood out to me because a lot of us go through isolation periods before we get elevated. While we're being tested, while God is testing us, he often will draw us near to him, and we'll go through an isolation period before he blesses us, before he brings us into the next chapter. So I thought it was interesting that Job expanded on this. He's like, no one's even friends with me right now. So moving forward, "I summon my servant, but he does not answer. though I beg him with my own mouth. My breath is offensive to my wife. I am loathsome to my own brothers. Even the little boys scorn me. When I appear, they ridicule me. All my intimate friends detest me. Those I love have turned against me. I am nothing but skin and bones. I have escaped with only the skin of my teeth. Have pity on me, my friends. Have pity, for the hand of God has struck me. Why do you pursue me as God does? Will you never get enough of my flesh? Oh, that my words were recorded, that they were written on a scroll, that they were inscribed with an iron tool on lead or engraved in rock forever. I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. I myself will see him with my own eyes, I and not another. How my heart yearns within me. If you say, how will we hound him, since the root of the trouble lies in him? You should fear the sword yourselves, for wrath will bring punishment by the sword. And then you will know that there is judgment. So throughout all of this, Job is wailing in misery, but he never goes against God. And he's saying, look, God is punishing me, and he just kind of accepts it. I mean, he's tormented by it, but he doesn't ever go against God. He says, God, I wish you would have never brought me onto this earth to go through this, but he never says that God is not right. Throughout his entire monologues, he maintains that God is just, like that this is just a punishment he's enduring from God. And his friends are like, no, you're not enduring this from God, And he's like, no, I know that this came from God. And he's kind of like, this is just my lot in life. I am just a man, So Zophar is his friend. Then Zophar the Nabothite replied, my troubled thoughts prompt me to answer because I am greatly disturbed. I hear a rebuke that dishonors me, and my understanding inspires me to reply. He's like, you offended me. I have to respond. Surely you know how it has been from of old, ever since man was placed on the earth, that the mirth of the wicked is brief. The joy of the godless lasts but a moment. Though his pride reaches to the heavens and his head touches the clouds, he will perish forever like his own dung. Those who have seen him will say, where is he? Like a dream he flies away, no more to be found. Banished like a vision of the night, the eye that saw him will not see him again. His place will look on him no more. His children must make amends to the poor. His own hands must give back his wealth. The youthful vigor that fills his bones will lie with him in the dust. Though evil is sweet in his mouth, and he hides it under his tongue, though he cannot bear to let it go, and keeps it in his mouth, yet his food will turn sour in his stomach. It will become the venom of serpents within him. He will spit out the riches he swallowed. God will make his stomach vomit them up. He will suck the poison of the serpents. The fangs of an adder will kill him. He will not enjoy the streams, the rivers flowing with honey and cream. What he toiled for, he must give back uneaten. He will not enjoy the profit from his trading, for he has oppressed the poor and left them destitute. He has seized houses he did not build. Surely he will have no respite from his craving. He cannot save himself by his treasure. He's not talking about Job here. He's talking about the wicked. This is a whole monologue about what happens to the wicked. Okay. Nothing is left for the wicked to devour. The wicked prosperity will not endure. In the midst of their plenty, distress will overtake them. The full force of misery will come upon him. When he has filled his belly, God will vent his burning anger against him and rain down his blows upon him. Though he flees from an iron weapon, a bronze-tipped arrow pierces him. He pulls it out of his back, the gleaming point out of his liver. Terrors will come over him. Total darkness lies in wait for his treasures. A fire and fan will consume him and devour what is left in his tent. The heavens will expose his guilt. The earth will rise up against him, and the flood will carry off his house, rushing waters on the day of God's wrath. Such is the fate God allots to the wicked, the heritage appointed them by God. So this is his monologue about what happens to the wicked. Okay, whatever. Why are you saying this to Job? And I think in saying this, he's kind of insinuating to Job, that he's wicked, right? He's like, this is what happens to the wicked, right? And Job's over there like, well, that's happening to me. So in a way, his friend is insinuating, this is only what happens to the wicked. And since this is happening to you, you must be wicked. Then Job replied, listen carefully to my words, and let this be the consolation you give me. Bear with me while I speak, and after I have spoken, mock on. Is my complaint directed to man? Why should I not be impatient? Look at me and be astonished. Clap your hand over your mouth. When I think about this, I am terrified. Trembling seizes my body. Why do the wicked live on, growing old and increasing in power? They see their children established among them, their offspring before their eyes. Their homes are safe and free from fear. The rod of God is not upon them. Their bulls never fail to breed. Their cows calve and do not miscarry. They send forth their children as a flock. Their little ones dance about. They sing to the music of tambourine and harp. They make merry to the sound of the flute. They spend their years in prosperity and go down to the grave in peace. Yet they say to God, leave us alone. We have no desire to know your ways. Who is the Almighty that we should serve him? What would we gain by praying to him? But their prosperity is not in their own hands. So I stand aloof from the counsel of the wicked. Yet how often is the lamp of the wicked snuffed out? How often does calamity come upon them? The fate God allots in his anger. How often are they like straw before the wind, like chaff swept away by a gale? It is said, God stores up a man's punishment for his sons. So he's saying, how often does that really happen? He's like, yeah, I know that you're saying all of this happens to the wicked, but he's kind of asking, well, how often does it really happen? Because it is said that God actually stores up a man's punishment for his sons, which would mean God actually doesn't really punish someone. He punishes their children, right? Which is like kind of a hint to a bloodline curse. Let him repay the man himself so that he will know it. Let his own eyes see his destruction. Let him drink of the wrath of the Almighty. For what does he care about the family he leaves behind when his allotted months come to an end? Can anyone teach knowledge to God, since he judges even the highest? One man dies in full vigor, completely secure and at ease, his body well nourished, his bones rich with marrow. But another man dies in bitterness of soul, never having enjoyed anything good. Side by side, they lie in the dust, and worms cover them both. I know full well what you are thinking, the schemes by which you would wrong me. You say, where now is the great man's house, the tents where wicked men live? Have you never questioned those who travel? Have you paid no regard to their accounts? That the evil man is spared from the day of calamity, that he is delivered from the day of wrath? Who denounces his conduct to his face? Who repays him for what he has done? He is carried to the grave, and watch is kept over his tomb. The soil in the valley is sweet to him. All men follow after him, and a countless throng goes before him. So how can you console me with your nonsense? Nothing is left of your answers but falsehood. So he's basically saying, nobody actually, like you say, he's saying to his friends, you guys say the wicked get what's coming to them. But Job is saying, how often do the wicked actually get what's coming to them? And he's also kind of being like, half the time, who denounces his conduct to his face? He's like, take a look at some of these wicked men. Nobody's even saying anything to them. So you guys are just full of baloney, and you're talking all of these theoreticals and philosophicals of what you think should happen to a wicked man. But I've seen a bunch of wicked men prosper and succeed and not have to face any trials. You know? And I kind of like the book of Job for this reason, because I think that a lot of people have false expectations, and they live in this narrative that, oh, the wicked will be repaid for their evil. And they will, but maybe not always in this lifetime. You know, sometimes it's at the end of the day, you know, at the end of their days, you know. And I think people struggle when they see wicked people thriving, and they're constantly asking God, why? But Job kind of has the right idea where he's like, this is kind of just my lot in life right now. You know, And I personally find peace in accepting what I'm going through. I think I found peace in knowing that God has good things in store for me, and he uses all things for my good. And sometimes I'm going to have pain in this life. And when I'm enduring pain, I have a lot more peace knowing that God is with me throughout that versus constantly trying to question and ask God why. Like I've gone through a lot of hard things. It doesn't make your experience any easier when you're mad at God and constantly questioning why this happened to you. Sometimes shit just happens, and it's easier for me personally. I don't know your experience. I don't know what you're going through, but for me personally, I find it easier to be like, okay, well, I don't know why this is happening, but it's happening, versus trying to constantly get stuck in that cycle of, why is this happening to me? Is it because I did something wrong? Is it because I'm wicked? Is it because I deserved it? Is it this? Is it that? You know what? I don't care why it's happening. I just know that it is happening, and I need to cling tightly. I need to hold on tight to Jesus so I can get through it. And if I get caught in that, spinning wheel of why is this happening, it's way more miserable for me personally. And so I kind of like Job's mindset on this, but I think it's going to be a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, is that sometimes bad things happen to good people. And it's not happening to you because you deserved it. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and that's just the harsh reality of life. But anyway, let's move forward to our New Testament portion of the day is in Matthew chapter 21, verses 1 through 17. Yeah, I think it's a test, but I feel like people get really angry at this idea that God tests you. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. I know God tests me. I've been through the fire, and God tests me all the time. No, it should not do good, should come back. I don't understand that. Yeah, but I don't know why people get really angry at the idea that God tests you. It's like, well, unfortunately he does. And in the case of Job, God's not the one striking Job down. God has just removed his hedge of protection from around Job, and he is allowing the enemy to do this, right? And he's testing Job to see if he's going to maintain his character. And after the test, Job ends up with so much blessings. I'm pretty sure that it says he ends up so blessed that he doesn't even remember. Let's skip forward a little bit. I think that they say he ends up so blessed with so many kids and so much prosperity. I don't even think that he remembers. Like, it says he just kind of forgets. Sorry, I'm skipping forward. I'm trying to find the very... Oh, I went too far. I'm trying to find the end of Job here. After the Lord said these things to Job, after Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord made him prosperous again and gave him twice as much as he had before. Everyone that he used to know came back, because he was saying, oh, everyone has left me and I'm isolated. So all of his friends and family came back, and then they comforted him and consoled him over all the trouble the Lord had brought upon him. And each of them gave him a piece of silver. And his latter days were more blessed than his former days. No, it doesn't say he forgot. Sorry, but I do think it's interesting. After he prayed for his friends is when his life started to come back together. After he prayed for his friends. So anyways, let's get into Matthew chapter 21, the triumphal entry. As they approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage on the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and once you will find a donkey tied there with her colt by her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, Tell them that the Lord needs them and he will send them right away. I love this. I want you guys to try this in your own life. Tell someone, hey, the Lord needs this, and see if they let you take it. This took place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. Say to the daughter of Zion, see, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. And I don't mean this in like a stealing way, but like, if God sent you to get something, I want everybody to be testifying about what God is telling them to do and how God is moving in your life. And if God is guiding you somewhere and telling you to do something, try sharing that every once in a while. Try sharing, oh, God is sending me to do this, and see how people open doors for you. I think a lot of us are afraid to share, oh, God is telling me to do this, or God is telling me to go here, or God has sent me on this assignment. A lot of people are afraid to say those things because they're afraid of like judgment or being mocked or whatever it is. But when you actually start sharing, you would be amazed at how many doors open to you because you say God is sending you there. And in this way, that's what I mean by tell people God is sending you. If you need something for something God has told you to do, say it. Say, I feel like God's telling me to do this, but I need this. Put yourself in a position to receive. Put yourself in a position to have doors open for you, on behalf of the Lord. Moving forward, the disciples went and did as Jesus had instructed them. They brought the donkey and the colt, placed their cloaks on them, and Jesus sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him and those that followed shouted, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. This kind of ties in with what I just said. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. How is everybody going to know you're coming in the name of the Lord if you don't tell them? Hosanna in the highest. When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, who is this? The crowds answered, this is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee. Jesus at the temple. Jesus entered the temple area and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. It is written, he said to them, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers. So a lot of people want to go into deep on this Jesus at the temple thing. He's getting rid of the money changers because they were having people, because back then you would make sacrifices. And it was kind of exploitive because they were going there and selling doves so that you could sacrifice them to the Lord. And it was a way to kind of take advantage of people, and so it's not to go against tithing. Like don't use this verse to go against tithing, because guys, the church needs to have the lights on, okay? And the pastor deserves to be paid. And the people who make the church happen, it takes a lot to make a church happen, okay? I mean, some of the bills at these buildings, can you imagine the electricity bill for the 50,000 square foot building? I mean, come on now. Don't use this as an excuse to not pay your tithes, okay? But he's saying don't exploit people and say, oh, you have to make this sacrifice to God to be heard. And, oh, just so happens we have everything you need for the sacrifice right over here, So the blind and the lame came to him at the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and the teachers of the law saw the wonderful things he did, and the children shouting in the temple area, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were indignant. They were indignant when they saw the good that Jesus was doing. When they saw the wonderful things he did, they were indignant, which, funnily enough, my mom just Googled this word last night. They were angry because they thought it was unfair, and they were jealous. They were like, this isn't fair. He shouldn't be being praised. Do you hear what these children are saying? They asked Jesus. Yes, replied Jesus. Have you never read, from the lips of children and infants you have ordained praise? And he left them and went out of the city of Bethlehem. And he left them and went out of the city to Bethany, where he spent the night. I love this, you guys. I love having a realistic idea of Jesus. I love having a realistic idea of Jesus. Jesus was not a pushover or a coward. I'm like, all 2025, if you come to this page and you come to this Bible study, you're going to hear me say, stop being a people pleaser and stop being a coward in the name of Jesus. Like, it is something I'm so passionate about for 2025. It is like everybody that listens to this Bible study is going to still be kind, still be considerate. We're still going to be respectful. We're going to speak the truth in love. But we're no longer being a people-pleasing coward, okay? Jesus was not a people-pleasing coward. Listen to this. The Pharisees are coming to him. Do you hear what the children are saying? He said, yeah, haven't you ever read? And then quotes the scriptures to them. Sass. I mean, that was like, I wish I could have heard his tone when he said that, because that was not I'm sorry, is this making you uncomfortable? Let me tell them to stop. No, that was yeah, I hear what they're saying. Don't you know that's what the Bible says? You know, he wasn't a coward. He wasn't a pushover. He was kind of sassy. I mean, I love that. He was kind of sassy. You'll love 1 Corinthians 1-4. I'll go and read it later. I'm like actually really bad at remembering exactly what verse happens where. I need to get better at verse mapping. But yeah, Jesus was not a coward, and we're no longer, if you really want to get an idea of what Jesus's attitude would have been like, he's always quoting the Bible. He's always quoting the Bible. A lot of the times, he very rarely answers questions and stuff out of his own like wisdom. He's always quoting the scripture to people. And if he's not quoting the scripture, he's speaking in a parable, because giving a direct answer is like a closed answer, but a parable gives an open answer. And it was so intentional because we can take those parables into so many more situations than if he would have just given a yes or no answer, right? By giving the parable, he's giving you the opportunity to practice critical thinking and to think for yourselves instead of just always, yes, no, here's the rule. Like, he wants you to be able to critically think and apply wisdom to your life. It's all about esteeming men. Oh, cool. So anyway, that is all for our New Testament reading for today. And then our portion from Psalm is going to be Psalm 18, verses 1-6, for the director of music of David, the servant of the Lord. He sang to the Lord the words of this song. And when the Lord delivered him from the hand of all of his enemies and from the hand of Saul, he said, so this is after he was delivered from the hand of Saul. So remember, Saul was pursuing him for a long time, and he was hiding in caves in the hill country, and it was totally unjustified and unfair. So when he was finally delivered from his enemies and delivered from the hand of Saul, this is what David's saying. I love you, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge. He is my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I call to the Lord who is worthy of praise, and I am saved from my enemies. The cords of death entangle me, and the torrents of destruction overwhelmed me. The cords of the grave coiled around me, and the snares of death confronted me. In my distress, I called to the Lord. I cried to my God for help, and from his temple he heard my voice. My cry came before him into his ears. So that was really good, obviously. Cry out to the Lord. He hears your cries. Cry out to the Lord. He hears your cries. Even in the midst of your destruction, you can cry out to God and he will hear you. So that is all for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have the goal of reading through the Bible in 1 year, Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is prayer_warrior Bible study. We are going live every single day and reading through the entire NIV daily Bible. We are officially 1/12 of the way done. Month 1 completed. Month 1 completed. And I will say, out of month 1, we missed 3 readings. We missed 3 days. So I think that's pretty good. I'm calling that a win. We're about progress over perfection. Okay, so if we keep going at this rate, we will have read 99% of the Bible. Okay, that is a win. So anyways, if your goal is to read through the Bible in 1 year, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you missed the live here on TikTok, we are going to upload it over there so that you can tune in and listen to it or re-listen to it, which is nice. I actually have been re-listening to them, and I get a lot more the second time around. So anyway, bye everybody. Have a great day. Bye Missy. Bye Sydney. Bye Reverend Michael.